Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 109 of the Guardian Project podcast. I'm your host, Andy and Coyle. With this diet, I'm surprised I'm not just a gelatinous cube.
Ooh, that's good. What would make you cube-shaped?
Not Jell-O, though, because Jell-O's disgusting. But I like gravy.
Gravy? So you're gelatinous gravy? What if you're like the cranberry sauce that's coming out of the can, where it still has the ridges of the can and everything?
Gross. Yeah, and I just plop out.
Yeah.
Or like roast beef hash coming out of a can.
Yes.
But I could go for some roast beef hash.
So maybe not Jell-O, but any other gelatinous material that is food, I guess. We've only really covered food.
Pudding.
A pudding cube.
Yes.
And I'm your other host, Mike Coyle. And with the addition of Adventures of the Forgotten Realms, an old Rakdos commander was errated to disallow venturing into the dungeon.
Yeah.
Grenzo Dungeon Warden just got that much better. That's not actually a thing.
Dungeon Warden, no.
He's just a dungeon warden.
Please listen carefully.
The warden of the dungeon. What if you were the warden of a dungeon? What would your responsibilities be?
I think a dungeon warden, in that sense, is a jail where you're a warden. Where a dungeon in D&D is like not a jail.
Well, it's not a jail, but if you were a warden of the dungeon,
I guess you're just a guard.
A guard,
yeah,
right.
Grenzo's just one minion guard in a dungeon. He means nothing. He's the old guy that you can sneak up behind him and stab him, or if you talk to him, he'll probably be like, "Oh, don't hurt me."
An NPC that's like, "Wow, funny seeing you here."
Exactly.
Or "Wow, I'm glad to see you. I have a mission."
You have a mission?
A mission. And this is the show where we talk about all things Magic the Gathering.
But mostly Commander.
So we have some big announcements today. The first one is, it's kind of a three-parter here. So this is the Commander Rules Committee July 2021 update. So first, we have some new members of the Commander Advisory Group. That is Kristen Gregory and Elizabeth Rice. So if you follow them on Twitter, Elia the Veil or the Kristen Emily, really great. I've played with Kristen before. Fantastic. Really great members to add to the Commander Advisory Group. We also have an update to Rule 11 to clarify dungeon legality. So the actual announcement says that dungeons are a little wonky from a rules perspective, since they're more like an emblem than they are like any other card. Once they're ventured into, they live in the command zone, and then they leave that zone when they're completed, and they have to be considered cards so that other rules can work, but they're not really a card in the traditional sense. So they can't go into your deck, and their main function is to really work as a specialized process marker. So they said to that end, Rule 11 is now worded to say parts of abilities which bring other traditional cards from outside the game into the game, like a wish card, do not function in Commander. So Venture does work, but you can't go grab them and put them into your hand or anything, because they're not a thing.
Yeah.
So those are the first two parts of today's announcement.
Hey, part 3 is not that big of a deal, though. I'm sure people won't be very excited. No one cared.
It wasn't a big deal.
No. So there's a card that was printed in Commander Legends called Hull Breacher. 3 mana Merfolk Pirate with flash. It says whenever an opponent would draw a card, if it's not the card that they're drawing during their draw step, they instead don't draw that card and you make a treasure. That card's banned in Commander now.
It's banned.
So Hull Breacher has been a problem card since its release. The ostensible defensive use against extra card draw has been dwarfed by offensively combining it with mass draw effects to easily strip players' hands while accelerating the controller. That play pattern isn't something we want prevalent in casual play. See the Leovold ban. And we have seen a lot of evidence that it is too tempting even there, as it combines with wheels and other popular casual staples. The case against the card was overwhelming. There remain a few similar cards that are still permitted, notably Notion Thief and Narset Parter of Veils. The additional hoops required, an additional color pip for Notion of Thief, and sorcery speed for Narset, appeared to be keeping them to the appropriate level of play, though we'll continue to keep an eye on them. So normal Hull Breacher, but most people are pretty happy about this getting banned.
I'm very excited.
Yes.
I'll start out. So we're going to chat about it for a minute,
Just
right?
a minute,
so
yep.
I've had it played against me A few times, not very many. I mean, less than I can count on two hands. So to be fair, but each time it happened, it felt very bad, right? It creates very, very much, it makes feel bad. It doesn't feel that it kept things in check. And that's just my personal opinion. If you're in a play group and you've had it played against you multiple times to win a wheel card that makes everyone discard and draw that many, that's awful. But I would say that the reason I was most frustrated about it, and we talked about this on the show before, is that not only do they prevent the card draw and you make a it's something that everybody puts into their deck. You usually say, and I have this many rocks, this many creatures, this many card draw cards. It's a specific thing you put in the deck and it stops all of them. It feels so bad.
Yeah. I just, as this announcement says, they are talking about Notion Thief and Narset Parter Veils not being banned because they're a little bit more difficult. So the whole Notion Thief being a 3 mana, 1 color with flash, and having these effects is really what's putting it above. I know they didn't mention Alms Collector here, but Alms Collector is a 4 mana white with flash, but that one, at least people can still draw the first card that they would draw for each instance of draw. With a wheel effect, it's going to be the same thing as Narset, but I understand it's not exactly like Narset. So I can understand that one.
And Leovold said each opponent can't draw more than 1 card they draw each turn. And whenever you or a permanent you control becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. So it just created massive card advantage, but also stripped people of their hands just with cards that people throw into regular decks. If I'm running a blue deck, I'm usually running Windfall only because I'm just so used to and comfortable going, I might need to get 7 when someone else is inherently just drawing anyway. Wheel of Fortune, it's really expensive, but Wheel of Misfortune is very affordable. It's real great. It's been printed into commander decks, I believe a few times now, the Magus of the Wheel. So I believe it's been in two of the precons, because I think one of them was reprinted into like an anthology, but then also it was just reprinted in like a master set at some point, right?
Yep. And then, it was I want to say M25 that it was reprinted.
That sounds right. And then we also have the Miracle Cost Reforged the Soul. So I mean, like these are very popular effects too. I mean, it's great, but it just feels really bad when you're stripped of your hand. And so I for one am not upset to see it go. I will say I had it in a Pirates deck without a Windfall. This was a card that always made me say, like when I play the Locust God, and the tweet did not age well this morning because I posted, I played the Locust God a lot this weekend. It was a lot of fun. And someone said, unless you're the person that's playing Windfall and Hull Breacher. Right. And I responded and said, but I'm not that guy.
Not that guy.
I'm not running it. But with that deck, I always said it. So now I don't have to say it anymore. So it feels really good.
Nice. Yeah, I did not have a single deck built with Hull Breacher. I played against it twice. One time I was with you, it shut down your Mungara, the Diplomat.
Can you believe my mono white card advantage that I finally got online was stopped?
It was
it felt bad.
And it just made me not cast like a card where I would like draw 3 cards or something.
We were also playing in a CEDH game with was it Moderately Anonymous? We were on a stream and with Stacked EDH and Ken flashed in the Hull Breacher in response to me trying to go infinite with my Malcolm and Glinthorn Buccaneer. And I was like, and I do this. And he goes, I'm so sorry. You have to draw to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's happened.
For sure. I think I was playing mono red. I don't have much card draw on that anyways, other than Wheels, which I would not play into a Hull Breacher.
You wouldn't have known though.
Wouldn't have known.
You wouldn't have known.
That's true. I didn't play it that game.
You did not.
But yeah.
So Hull Breacher is gone.
It's gone.
And
not forgotten because Legacy's still playing it.
Gone but not forgotten, our 3rd episode. We've done Gone but not forgotten split. Maybe we'll have to bring this back, but maybe not as a commander deck, maybe as cards we no longer play, but also because it was banned.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also have some other announcements this week. If you are already a patron, you got an announcement from us both on Discord and on Patreon. We have modified some of our tiers. And we got some new swag. So we have upgraded our podcast tokens to be a plastic material, so they function as a full dry erase token. So we're very excited. So we are editing the tokens slightly. We're going to be ordering those, and as soon as they arrive, if you already have tokens or you just upped your patronage to get to the tokens, you'll be getting those. So watch for those in the future. We added a tier to give out a custom proxy card of the Guardian Project with some custom art courtesy of Listener Elf. Really cool. It's really cool. So, we can share what it's going to be. And so the concept, right? Because we saw those sketch cards, right? Okay, tell everyone the concept of what we said we want this card to be.
So we said we wanted the Guardian Project to be the card. Spoiler.
It's going to be a Guardian Project, yeah.
And then we want it to be a Simic Hall of Fame.
Simic Hall of Fame. So that's those sketch cards from Modern Horizons 2 where it would say mood and then it was like whatever it was. So Noble Hierarch, but with a goblin. This we said we want it to be a Simic Hall of Fame. So, think of what you might think that would look like. But we've got the concept art now. And as soon as that's finished, we're going to be ordering those. So if you're at that tier or you're already above that tier, we're going to send you that. Yep. So you don't have to sign up for it. If you're already above that tier, you'll get a copy. And then the biggest one here is we finally have playmats.
That's right.
So the only reason you haven't seen images is because the file size of them is too big to post in Discord or on Twitter, and I just haven't compressed them yet. But we have, it's like the same playmat with like two different colors for a background. So we have like a blue version and then like a dark gray, black-ish version with our logo. It says the Guardian Project Podcast. And we're really excited with some let's describe it. Angled card shapes.
Yes. It's a nice repeated pattern of card shapes along the back with our logo front and center. It looks very nice. It's not too busy or anything. It's very simple.
It's simple. We wanted something simple. So ours will be in soon. Because we ordered some to check them out, and then we'll be posting photos. And then that is a tier we have already heard from some patrons that were wondering if this is something that you'll be able to order without being a patron. At this point, we have to look at potentially creating a storefront. We do not have one today, so as of right now, we don't know is the real answer.
Right.
But we certainly understand. And if our patrons would like one, I'm sure we'll figure something out to be able to do like a one-time order for them who are current patron. And then after that, we're not sure, but that's the plan. Those are the updates. Coyle, what are we talking about this week?
This week, we are going to be talking about Commander Spellbook. So now that Adventures of the Forgotten Realms has been fully previewed, we are going back to Commander Spellbook to talk about and review the combos that have been enabled from new Adventures of the Forgotten Realms cards.
All right. But before we do that, we did not mention where you can find us online. So you can actually find us online at theguardianprojectpodcast.com. You can find our social media on Twitter at GuardianPod and our gameplay videos at youtube.com/theguardianproject. Or you can email us, guardianprojectpod@gmail.com.
And if you are looking for a way to support the podcast and you are not a patron, you can definitely hop on over to patreon.com/guardianprojectpod and support us at any dollar amount. And if you want to support us in a different way, whatever you're listening to the podcast on now, if you could leave a comment, a like, follow us, it all helps. It all helps all of the algorithms so more people can find the podcast and so we can get our content out to more people.
The algorithm. I don't understand how it works.
Who's Al? Go rhythm.
All right, Coyle. Well, are you ready to roll for initiative?
Oh, yeah.
So this week, we are talking about combos for cards from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. So we like to talk about CommanderSpellbook.com. That's where we find all of these combos, and there will likely be more combos posted in the future. So we're going to go through some of our favorite combos that are coming out, or that I guess will be out in the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Because this set releases in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we got pre-release this week and then full release next week.
Exactly. So this first combo here is in the Simic variety. And that is with the new commander Gretchen Titchwillow, a 0/4 legendary creature halfling druid for a green and a blue that says pay 4, 2, a green and a blue. You can draw a card and put a land onto the battlefield from your hand. So you might be thinking, wow, this is just another Simic card that draws cards and puts lands into play.
That's exactly what I think, Andy.
That's exactly what you think. Feels very Tatiova, Asai-ish, but has an activated ability here.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you combine that with a few cards that none of them are new other than Gretchen Titchwell here, if you combine that with an Amulet of Vigor, a Simic Growth Chamber, and a Training Grounds, you draw your deck, put all your lands into play. I mean, I assume you probably win.
I don't think you put all your lands into play because you have to keep putting the dual land into play, right?
So the Simic, I guess you're right. So the Simic Growth Chamber you put onto the battlefield, because Amulet of Vigor's out, it untaps it, so you tap it to make 2 mana.
Mm-hmm.
And then you return it to your hand, but you had to pay 2 to activate Gretchen Titchwillow to draw a card and put a land into play.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to draw at least your whole deck out.
Oh, yeah.
Assuming you're in, I assume you're in green, blue, and not plus something else.
Sure.
I mean, it's possible that Gretchen Titchwell is not your commander, but it's probably easier to have one of your 4 pieces just be your commander here.
For sure.
You can just draw all the cards. So Training Grounds says activated abilities creatures you control cost up to 2 colorless less to cast. So with Gretchen Titchwillow, it's going to only cost a green and a blue. So Simic Growth Chamber taps for green and blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then Amulet of Vigor allows it to come into play untapped. And when Simic Growth Chamber comes in, you return it to your hand. So you can just keep putting it back into your hand and back into play.
Oh, yeah. So like the amount of mana for that, isn't it like 2 1-mana artifacts and then a 4-mana commander? And that's pretty much it.
It's a 4-mana commander, a 1-mana artifact for Amulet of Vigor, and a 1-mana enchantment for Training Grounds. Yeah. It's 6 mana total in those 4 cards.
Yeah, so turn 4, draw your deck.
You could, if you naturally drew the first 2 before turn 4, turn 4 you draw your deck out.
And then before you draw your whole deck, Thassa's Oracle, you're in Simic.
Or you activate the ability, and instead of putting Simic Growth Chamber back in, you put in a Reliquary Tower, big brain play.
Oh, nice. That way you don't automatically win. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I assume you're probably running a Reliquary Tower. Yeah. I just naturally gravitate to throwing it in almost all my commander decks now.
As long as it's not like 5 color depends on pips, like your life depends on pip. Like if it's not Ramos Lucky Charms, there's no reason not to put a Reliquary Tower in it.
I love Reliquary Tower. So that is a Simic combo if I've ever seen one.
All right. I've got a combo revolving around a red instant speed spell from Adventures of the Forgotten Realm called Unexpected Windfall. So Unexpected Windfall is a 4-mana instant. So for 2 red, you get an instant that says as an additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card. Then you draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. So this is Tormenting Voice, but it costs 2 more mana and you get 2 treasure tokens. This is going to combo with a creature card called Nivix Guildmage. So Nivix Guildmage is a red-blue. For a red and a blue, you get a human wizard 2/2, where you can pay 1 a blue and a red to draw a card, then discard a card. Not the important part. Or you can pay 2 a blue and a red to copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So you can imagine we're going to be using that ability to copy Unexpected Windfall. But in order to make it net even, what we're going to do is we're going to use a Training Ground. So like Andy said in his last combo, Training Grounds is going to reduce activated abilities by 2 generic mana, making Nivix Guildmage's ability cost a blue and a red, which you can pay for using the 2 treasures that you generate from Unexpected Windfall, allowing you to infinitely copy Unexpected Windfall to give you infinite copy triggers on the cast. So in combination with another new card like Zorn, so for 2 and a red, you get a 3/2 elemental creature. It says if you would create 1 or more treasure tokens, instead create those tokens plus an additional treasure token. And a card from Strixhaven that we like, Stormkiln Artist, a 3 and a red 2/2 dwarf shaman. It says whenever our Stormkiln Artist gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control, but it has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. So this is allowing you to not only create 2 treasure tokens every time one of your copy resolves, but also Stormkiln Artist is going to make 1 treasure token, and Zorn is going to make you an additional treasure token on the spell cast and the Stormkiln Artist, giving you infinite mana.
Infinite mana.
That's right. So Unexpected Windfall is just a common, and I never expected something. I've been playing it in draft and I really like it, but I never expected it to actually combo off with anything. It's very cool. A Tormenting Voice that costs 2 more but makes 2 treasures.
Yeah. That's a lot of fun. The next one here, we've got a few different varieties of this combo. So this one is with the Black Staff of Waterdeep. So this is a new legendary artifact that costs 1 blue, and it says you may choose not to untap the Black Staff of Waterdeep during your untap step. And it says animate a walking statue. So 1 in a blue, tap it. Another target non-token artifact you control becomes a 4/4 artifact creature for as long as the Black Staff of Waterdeep remains tapped. Activate only at sorcery speed. So if you combine this with Isochron Scepter and then a card that untaps creatures you control, so any instant with mana value 2 or less, what you're basically going to do here is you're going to make near infinite mana, essentially, and basically near infinite creature untaps. It depends on the card. So like 2 Arms is a card that I'm going to use, for example. I use that in my Noyan Dar deck. I can untap my creatures, but it also says draw a card. So in this case, you're also going to get infinite card draw with this. So you're going to use the Black Staff of Waterdeep. You're going to pay 2 to animate the Isochron Scepter. You're going to use 2 Arms, which is going to untap your creatures. It's a creature because of Black Staff of Waterdeep, and you're just going to rinse and repeat by casting your 2 Arms and untapping the Isochron Scepter, and it's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So, you pay 2, you tap it, cast copy of 2 Arms, resolves, untaps your creature, and you rinse and repeat. So, yeah. And
awesome.
this can be used with a lot of cards. So you can use it with 2 Arms. You can add green. Instead of it being blue-white, you can add green with Vitalize. But still in blue, you've got the card Roar of the Ka, Rally of Wings, Energy Arc, or Call to Glory. So you can really do almost any of these. They don't all include infinite draw. Only 2 Arms gives you a draw card. The rest of them just make mana and untaps.
Okay. And cast triggers.
I guess
from the Isochron Scepter stuff.
It does say cast, so I guess there's that.
Nice. Well, that's very cool. And it's in most of them in 2 colors, but sometimes 3. Sometimes with green.
They're in. If it's with green, it's blue-green instead of white.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So 2 colors. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got one that's in 1 color, involving the new card Min, Wily Illusionist. So this one's actually from the Commander deck, and not the core set for the Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. So Min, Wily Illusionist is a 3-mana 1/3 gnome wizard. So for 1 blue. It's a legendary creature that says whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token with this creature gets +1/+0 for each other illusion you control. We don't really care about that ability for this combo, but the second ability we do. Whenever an illusion you control dies, you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that creature's power from your hand onto the battlefield. This is going to combo with a legendary creature that you used to have a commander with here, Andy, and that's Moloku, the Clouded Mirror.
Oh, so I played an infinite deck with that already, so I am at full attention for you right now.
Here we go. So this is actually, it's a much easier combo than the Moloku Infinite Turns combo, in my opinion. So you have Moloku of the Clouded Mirror, which is a 5-mana 2/4 Moonfolk wizard, so 4 in a blue, for a flying creature that says you can pay 1 generic mana to return a land you control to its owner's hand and create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token with flying. So we're going to need something to sacrifice that illusion token to activate Min's ability. And that thing is going to be an Altar of Dementia in this case. So Altar of Dementia is a 2-mana artifact, 2 generic mana that says sacrifice a creature. Target player puts a number of cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power from the top of your library into their graveyard. So as long as you have those 3 cards out onto the battlefield and a land that you can tap for the 1 generic to return itself to your hand to make an illusion token with Moloku. You sacrifice that illusion token with your Altar of Dementia to mill someone for 1. That 1 power is more than the CMC of a land that you just put back in your hand, which you can then put back on the battlefield and repeat the Moloku thing. Mill everyone 1 card at a time. And in combination with Altar of the Brood, it's going to happen a little bit faster. You can also use landfall effects like Royal Elemental and take control of all of your opponent's permanents. So there's a few different things you can do with this combo, but definitely, I mean, just with 3 cards, you can mill out all of your opponents. And it's in 1 color, which means one of those cards can be in your command zone.
Yeah, mono blue, you can have either Min or you can have Moloku as the commander, and you just add it with your Altar of Dementia, or a any of the other mill cards, I guess.
Yeah, it's just altar. It has to be something that sacrifices the creature.
So that's why we got the altar.
Right.
Yeah,
so if you used Phyrexian Altar or something, you could go infinite colored mana. Ashnod's Altar, you have infinite colorless mana. With other sacrifice effects, whatever they give you, as long as it's a free sacrifice effect, that's all. That's the important part of what you need.
Okay, interesting. Well, since you have a sacrifice outlet, you just mentioned Phyrexian Altar, let's switch over to a mono black combo here. So this is with Acerec the Archlich. So this is a new legendary zombie wizard that says when it enters the battlefield, if you have not completed the Tomb of Annihilation, return Acerec the Archlich to its owner's hand and venture into the dungeon. And it says whenever Acerec the Archlich attacks for the first time, or just attacks, for each opponent you create a 2/2 black zombie creature unless that player sacrifices a creature. So Acerec the Archlich, there's a couple of combos with this, with the sacrifice outlet. You can do this one here, which is with Endrixar Master Breeder. It says whenever you cast a creature spell, you put X/1/1 thralls onto the battlefield, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. And then if you control 7 or more thralls, you have to sacrifice Endrixar. Well, in this case, really all you need to do is you have Acerec the Archlich in your hand. I guess it could be in the command zone. Mm-hmm. And then the other 2 permanents just have to be on the battlefield. So you cast Acerec, and then Endrixar is going to trigger, and you get 3 Thrall tokens. Acerec enters the battlefield and triggers. You return Acerec to your hand, and you venture into the Lost Mine of Phandelver. So you don't go into the Tomb of Annihilation because you don't want to complete it for this combo. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go into it ever, which is the fun part of this combo.
Sure is.
So then it says each time you trigger the Dark Pool, which is one of the rooms inside of the Lost Mine of Phandelver, it says each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So then you activate the Phyrexian Altar 3 times by sacking your thralls to get black mana, and you're just going to cast Acerec again and continue to venture and complete the Lost Mine of Phandelver over and over, pinging your opponents 1 life at a time. But you're also going to make you have infinite ventures into the dungeon, enter the battlefield, triggers, leaves the battlefield. I mean, there's so many things that happen here, and you just built the dungeon combo.
Right. And then like you could do the Mad Mage and get treasures and scry stuff and cast stuff from the top of your library for free.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And it's not even just Phyrexian Altar with Endrixar and Acerec. You can use cards like Rooftop Storm to cast zombies from your graveyard. You can also use Lauren, which lets you cast creature spells. I believe it's with mana value 3 or less.
Yeah, for free.
For free. Now it's a reserve list card. It's green, so Acerec can't be your commander,
right?
If that's the case.
Say same thing. Rooftop Storm being
is blue, so Acerec again wouldn't be your commander there. But
technically, Omniscience works too.
Omniscience also just makes things for free. So really cool. If you're looking to venture into the dungeon, I guess you could play Acerec. It's because you can just venture in slowly until you get your piece. Just because you could
play this stuff. You could play this card the way it's intended and actually venture into the dungeon that it wants you to venture into.
You got to end it in the Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah, that's the last thing you do. Is
the last thing you do is the Tomb of Annihilation, and just say, and now I can't do it anymore.
I think that one has like each player loses life or something like that.
I'd have to look at it. I remember it's the Lost Mine of Phandelver because then you can keep going.
All right. Well, I liked the fact that you were doing a mono black combo there. So why don't I throw my own mono black combo back at you? So there's a new Adventures of the Forgotten Realms card called Asmodeus the Archfiend. And Asmodeus is a legendary creature, Devil God 6/6 for 4 black. That has an ability called Binding Contract. If you would draw a card, exile the top card of your library face down instead. Has 2 activated abilities. One of them is black, draw 7 cards. Or black, return all cards exiled with Asmodeus the Archfiend to their owner's hand, and you lose that much life. Personally, I really hate this Binding Contract ability on here. Some people are talking about how this is like, and I heard someone say like, oh, this is Necropotence, or we have Necropotence at home, and Necropotence at home is Asmodeus the Archfiend. But if you put Asmodeus the Archfiend in your graveyard, you can use a creature called Necrotic Ooze and only care about its activated abilities. So Necrotic Ooze is a 4-mana ooze, 2 black for a 4/3. Says as long as Necrotic Ooze is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all creature cards in all graveyards. So technically, this could be in your opponent's graveyard too, and you could be using this. In combination with Keurig, Son of Yawgmoth, that allows you to spend Phyrexian black instead of black for casting costs and activation costs. You can actually pay 6 life to draw 7 cards with your Necrotic Ooze and Keurig. This also works if you want to expand it into some other colors using the Locust God and Phyrexian Altar. As long as you have the 3 black mana to start and draw 7 cards, you're going to make 7 Locusts. You can sacrifice 3 of them to get 3 more black, draw another 7 cards. This is going to allow you to draw your entire deck, get pseudo infinite mana. It's not infinite because you will draw your deck out, but you get like 80 mana or something.
Toss in an Eldrazi and then just win with insects. Oops, sorry, that's just the Locust God.
So the problem with the reshuffle is you would also need a way to discard it because you're drawing these cards. They're not going to your graveyard.
The Locust God lets you discard.
Yes, the Locust. Oh, that's true. You could activate the Locust God. True. Okay, we'll do that. We'll just throw some Eldrazi in there. Except you are drawing 7. So if your deck ever has less than 7 cards.
Well, that's, yeah. Scadio.
So don't do that. But you can do it in mono black, so you should try it with Keurig. It's not technically infinite with Keurig because you do have to pay 6 life to draw 7 cards.
Okay.
And that's
and
fine.
I'm okay with that.
You can do it 10 times and draw 70 cards and still have 10 life left if you had your starting life total.
That's great.
Is that no? I think I'm doing math wrong.
I was like, that's
6 times 5. You can do it 5 times, draw 35 cards is what you can do.
Yeah.
Yep. That's math.
I was doing some hand motions
1,
here.
2, 3,
carry the 6.
12 and a half.
14 team.
14 team.
All right. So I want to circle back to something that we've already seen before. It's possible there's just another way to do it in a different color essentially here, or you add a color because before it was colorless. So the new card is Teleportation Circle. It's an enchantment for 3 and a white and says at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So if you combine that with an extra turn spell and then an Archaeomancer, you do take infinite turns there. So we don't support extra turns because we've done it and we've played against it, and it's not always fun.
No.
And by not always, I mean it's not. Please have a way to win if you're going to do it.
For sure.
But so if you, let's say Time Warp, 3 blue, target player takes an extra turn, you're going to target yourself. I guess you could target someone else. And then Archaeomancer says when it enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to cast the extra turn spell. At the end of turn, you're going to bounce the Archaeomancer with the Teleportation Circle. You could have done this before with Conjurer's Closet. So Conjurer's Closet is an artifact that costs 5 and says at the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control. Teleportation Circle allows you to bounce an artifact too. So you could do an artifact or a creature. It's just a different way to do it in white and for 1 mana less.
And then you can also do it with the blue god from Theros Beyond Death, because she also is a Conjurer's Closet at your end step.
Oh, Thassa Deep Dwelling.
Thassa Deep Dwelling.
Yeah, you could do it that way too.
Yeah.
This is just another new one from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms.
Now, it is important to note that Time Warp is kind of a unique extra turn spell because there's a lot of extra turn spells, most of them, in fact, that exile themselves, and Time Warp does not. It goes to your graveyard. So that is an important part.
Yeah.
Time Warp. Okay. So I've got one that a lot of people have been, this one already had a rules change for it, actually, that we already said, and it got changed to a may ability rather than a must ability for Delina Wild Mage and Pixie Guide. So Delina Wild Mage is a 4-mana human shaman that says when Delina attacks, you target a creature you control and you roll a d20. And if the roll is from 1 to 14, you make a copy of that creature tapped and attacking. If the roll is 15 to 20, you do the first ability and then you do it again. You roll again. With Pixie Guide is a 2-mana 1/3 flyer that says whenever you would roll a die, you instead roll 2, or you roll an additional die, not 2, you roll an additional die, and you take the better of the 2 die rolls. So with a little bit of math, we can determine our chance of going infinite with just these 2 cards on the battlefield. So this particular chain is represented by a math equation that is 1 minus 0.7 raised to the x power, where x is 1 plus the number of pixie guides that you control. So with 1 pixie, you have a 51% chance of continuing the cycle, and then a 66% chance, 76% chance, etc., to the final equivalent of, with 1 pixie guide, 84% of the time you are going to end up with a finite number of pixies. And then 16% of the time you're going to end up with an infinite number of pixies. Just a ton. I'm sorry, it's 86 and 14%. So a 14% chance you're going to go pseudo infinite with your pixie guides and win. So roll some dice, have some fun, make a bunch of pixie guides.
Yeah, that is
And it's just 2 cards. It is a chance. I mean, you don't get it for sure.
I need to pull out my TI-89 for this.
I seriously was. When I was doing the math, I had to double check this equation and everything. Yeah, no, it works though.
And I don't know if we've made this joke on the show before or not. I feel like we talk about these calculators a lot, but maybe it's off. But
you did ask me like what games I had on my TI-84 Silver Edition, Silver Plus.
Yeah. But it never gets old. It never gets old.
No.
So let's go to some infinite mana here. Let's go back to Simic. Oops, we're in Simic. And we're going to look at Clever Conjurer, Kiora's Follower, and Illusionist's Bracers. So Clever Conjurer is a gnome wizard, a 2/3 for 2 and a blue that says tap. It has Mage Hand. Tap it to untap target permanent not named Clever Conjurer. Activate only as a sorcery. Kiora's Follower is a 2/2 for a green and a blue that says untap another target permanent. And then Illusionist's Bracers is an artifact equipment for 2 that has equip for 3 and says whenever an ability of an equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy that ability. You choose new targets for the copy. So essentially what we're going to do here is you're going to equip Illusionist Bracers to Kiora's Follower, and you're going to tap Kiora's Follower to untap a target permanent. And you're going to untap your Clever Conjurer, whether it's tapped or not, you can untap it. And then you're going to untap one of your lands. And then you're going to tap Clever Conjurer to untap Kiora's Follower. And then you're going to tap the Kiora and the Kiora's Follower. And you're going to untap the Clever Conjurer and another land. So you're going to untap all your lands, and you're just going to make infinite mana. Yep. And you can do with it what you want. Kiora's Follower has gone crazy with Illusionist Bracers before. I mean, we've seen some really crazy stuff there. So you can use Clever Conjurer with that if you're looking to make some mana.
Yeah, I really like Clever Conjurer. And some other shenanigans you can do with some people are doing mutate stuff with Clever Conjurer and
there's some
Necrotic
Porcupirate stuff going on where there's like a Clever Conjurer and I didn't confirm it obviously for this one. Porcupirate taps and deals X damage. I believe it's X times that
the number of times you've mutated
it. So if you can mutate it onto something and then start untapping and tapping it, that's
because it's no longer named Clever Illusionist anymore at that time. I don't know if that's exactly how the ruling works, because I heard sometimes that it's like if it's naming itself, then it doesn't matter what it's naming. It's always naming itself, but it might be different on this particular card.
Yeah, I have no idea. But if you know the combo with Porcupirate, that card is cool. I've never really seen it used before. So
okay, I have a pseudo infinite mana combo.
Okay,
and I'll I mean it's not infinite mana, but you'll understand what I mean. And it involves our favorite green creature with the best mono green ability of creating treasures, and that's Old Gnawbone. So Old Gnawbone is a 7 mana 7/7, so 5 green for a legendary creature dragon with flying. It says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create that many treasure tokens. So if Old Gnawbone is unblocked and hits someone for damage, you get to make 7 treasure tokens. And with those 7 treasure tokens combined with Najeela the Blade Blossom, we'll be able to have infinite combats by using 5 of those treasure tokens to activate Najeela the Blade Blossom's ability that says pay Wooburg and untap all attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, and haste until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Activate this ability only during combat. Or you could use Aggravated Assault, which is a 3 mana enchantment that says you can pay 3 red to untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Play this ability only anytime you could play a sorcery. So you have to do that in your second main phase, but you'll have the treasures there to do it. Alternatively, you could also use Time Sieve, a blue-black artifact that says tap, sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn after this one. That way you don't have to do extra combats, you get extra turns, which allows you to draw cards and put lands into play. So that one's probably the best of them, but also requires the most colors, other than the Najila, which requires 5 colors, but it's 3 colors. None of these can have Old Gnawbone be your commander, so it's a little bit difficult to put this combo together, but it's very cool to see, Old Gnawbone being a pretty huge combo piece.
It's funny that they gave that to green. I'm not mad about it. It looks cool. Everyone gets to make treasures, I guess.
Well, I'm gonna throw it in a bunch of decks. I mean,
I've seen people very excited about putting it in Goreclaw. I've seen folks just putting it in Yeva.
I imagine in Scion of the Ur-Dragon, it's amazing because you can turn it into the fire-breathing one.
I'm just thinking mono green decks, even that people were just excited about. But yeah, you can put it in a 5-color deck because green's in
that's true
5 colors.
That is what. Yeah. So I have a big long one that I kind of want to go over, and it involves Oswald Fiddlebender. So Oswald Fiddlebender is a 2-mana gnome artificer, 2/2 legendary creature that has an ability called Magical Tinkering. So for white mana and tapping it, sacrificing an artifact, you can search your library for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrifice artifact's mana value, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery. So this is basically mono white artifact pod, and we are going to... There's a few different ways you can untap Oswald using this combo, using cards like Magerite Stone and 1,000-Year Elixir, which just help you tap it to untap a target creature. Instead, to activate this combo, we're going to use an equipment called Thornbite Staff. So Thornbite Staff is a 2-mana shaman equipment. That's right. It's a tribal artifact. It says equipped creature has pay 2, tap it. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap this creature. That's the important part that we care about. It also says whenever a shaman creature comes into play, you may attach Thornbite Staff to it. Oswald Fiddlebender is not a shaman, so we don't really care about that. So using artifact creatures and sacrificing them to Oswald, we're going to be able to sacrifice the creature, find another artifact using the ability, and that's going to automatically untap Oswald because he's going to be equipped with a Thornbite Staff. So using Ornithopter to pod into Mere Moon Vessel. Ornithopter is a 0-mana 0/2 with flying. Mere Moon Vessel is a 1-mana 1/1. When it dies, you get a generic mana. You can pod that into a Mere Retriever, which when it dies, you return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. You pod that away for a Scrap Trawler, returning Mere Moon Vessel to your hand. You cast it. There's a long line involving also Gleaming Barrier and Cathodian. And by the end of it, you end up with a Grindstone and a Painter's Servant on the battlefield.
We're going to mill people out?
Yes. And then for the final card, you get a Clock of Omens so that you can activate your Grindstone 3 times. So Grindstone is a 1-mana artifact where you pay 3 mana and you target a player, and that player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If both cards share a color, you repeat this process. And Painter's Servant is a 2-mana artifact creature scarecrow. It says as Painter's Servant comes into play, choose a color. All cards that aren't in play, spells, and permanents are the chosen color in addition to their other color. So you just name any of the 5 colors, or if you rule 0 and you're allowed to say purple, you say purple as your mana color. Everything's purple, and you grindstone everyone out using Clock of Omens to untap your grindstone 2 times so that you can mill all 3 of your opponents out.
This is really reminiscent of a Prime Speaker Vannifar deck, right? Because that was the other pod deck that we talked about. Or I've actually seen. I know Erin Campbell has one, but it's not and I know she's mentioned before, it's not like I'm not going to just go up the chain. It's more of a fun deck and not a this.
Right.
But this is not that this isn't fun.
You can do this in a fair way too.
You absolutely can. But this is really interesting in white and right. So we also have Arkham Dagson, which can do stuff like this in blue, but it's only it's not creatures, correct?
So for Arkham Dagson, you sacrifice artifact creatures to find non-artifacts. And Arkham Dagson was really easy when Paradox Engine was still legal.
Okay.
Because then that untaps Arkham Dagson. I imagine it would be the exact same thing in our Oswald deck here. But
so are you saying unban Paradox Engine?
I'm fine with an unban of Paradox Engine. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
It's so tough. now we're digressing, but in those casual decks that really could use it, oh, it was so great watching be able to things finally go off. In decks that didn't necessarily need it because they were already good, you're like, holy moly, I'm dead.
I had no idea what Isochron Scepter Dramatic Versal was when Paradox Engine was legal, because it was so much easier to just do that instead of the other.
Yeah.
So I guess with that banning, it made me a better Magic player because I had to learn more cards.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, let's end with a combo here that can be done in a couple different ways.
Okay.
But it wouldn't be a combo episode if we didn't talk about the card Academy Manufactor and what could be combined with it, to go crazy here. So the new card from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms is Horde Robber. So it is a 1/3 Tiefling Rogue for 1 and a black that says whenever Horde Robber deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. If you combine that with Academy Manufactor, so if you would create a clue, a food, or a treasure, instead create one of each, and Time Sieve, which says sack 5 artifacts to take an extra turn, and then a way to basically make copies of tokens to make more or double them, you're just going to take infinite turns.
Yeah.
So the prerequisites for this is they all have to be on the battlefield. And then Helm of the Host, for this example, can be put on the Academy Manufactor. And then the Horde Robber is going to at least make a treasure, right? So you can make a treasure a different way, I guess. If you can't swing with this, you'd have to add a 5th card to be able to make your treasure. But essentially, you're going to make enough things that you can sacrifice with the Time Sieve to take an extra turn. Now, this only requires the colors blue and black. You can add green to the blue and black to add Doubling Season. I guess you can substitute Helm of the Host for Doubling Season, or Parallel Lives, or Primal Vigor, or Adrix and Nev, Twin Casters, or Double Major. You can stay in the blue-black and substitute Helm of the Host for Clone or Sakushima of 1,000 Faces to become another copy of Academy Manufactor. Or you can add white to your blue and black to substitute in Anointed Procession to make extra copies
Just play a 5-color deck and play every single one of these.
Just play 5-color
Academy Manufactor is what you're playing now.
So yeah, each way you're going to end up with infinite turns. I mean, you have to have a way to win other than that, but it's crazy that you can combine these 3 cards with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other options. Oh, it's crazy.
I think Academy Manufactor is like the most ridiculous card for Modern Horizons 2, and the fact that it's not a $20 card yet is ridiculous to me. It's like a $6 card.
It's still $6?
It's not very expensive for an Academy Manufactor, but it's not being played. It's not being played in standard very much. There's like a modern deck that uses Lannis that kind of uses it, but I don't think it's tier 1. It's not being played in Legacy or anything, Academy Manufactor. So it's only Commander. So people are only putting 1 in the deck. So I guess and it's only a rare. So maybe the demand really isn't there because it's only Commander going for it. But if you have not played with an Academy Manufactor yet, I highly recommend you do.
Yeah, I've played with that in my Lannis deck a few times and making all those extra artifacts. The food, just to save my life, I got to play Rise and Shine and turn all of my artifacts into 0/0s with 4+1/+1 counters on them and swing out for the beat strategy, which I was not expecting to do. But funny enough to say, I wasn't expecting to go for beats in Simic. It feels weird because you sometimes do just go for beats
sometimes.
in Simic. But not with 0/0 artifacts in most cases.
No, unless it's a 0/0 artifact with like 300 +1/+1 counters on it, because that's a very Simic thing that you could be doing, I suppose.
Yeah. So we went through a few combos here. Obviously there's a lot more that we certainly couldn't go through. There's going to be more that are added to the website. There's combos with Volo Guide to Monsters. There's combos with Minsk, combos with I'm curious to see. There's a Geared combo with Delinia Wild Mage and Combat Celebrants, and there's a couple of ways to do that. So we're not going to go through all of those, but if you play any of them, make sure you tag us or tell us how it went, or if you're playing on a stream or you recorded it all. I would love to see it because there's some really cool combos that we didn't go through today too.
Yeah. And definitely you should check out the Commander Spellbook Discord, and if there's a combo that's not on Commander Spellbook yet and it hasn't been submitted yet, you can hop on their Discord and submit that combo and become a contributor. I'm actually proud to say I'm finally a contributor of Commander Spellbook after submitting my Ave and Food Chain combo about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So yeah, Andy and I can now both say that we are Commander Spellbook contributors, and
we are. It feels good, and it seems really silly, but I got that little thing that says you contributed to our website. I was like, yes, I submitted a combo that I play. I've submitted a few now. I mean, because it's a newer website, right? So even all these old combos that we've been playing with for forever, they're not all on the website yet. Someone has to still submit them so that they get approved and make it to the. So I added a few that I play in my Gerard Golgari Lichlord deck, and I added a few that I used to play in my Narset deck. So if you've got combos and you're not seeing them on the website, you can certainly join their Discord and submit your combos to become a contributor as well.
Now, do the combos on that website, do they have to be like game-winning combos or infinite combos, or like
there's even combos on there that say like near infinite colorless mana or near infinite card draw. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect,
but it has to be something that significantly changes the game or the board state or something.
What combo, Coyle, would you like to submit that you're unsure of?
Bucknard's Ever Full Purse, also from the new Commander set, is a 2-mana artifact where you can pay 1 generic and tap it to roll a d4 and create a number of treasure tokens equal to the result. The player to your right gains control of Bucknard's Ever Full Purse in combination with a land called Homeward Path, which has an ability to say tap it. Each player gains control of all creatures. Oh, it only says creatures he usually owns. I'm not going to submit this combo, Andy. It says creatures, and I'm trying to return an artifact that I control back to my control. Reading the card explains
Reading the cards out loud explains.
Oh my goodness! I even looked at Trostani Discordant, because I remember Trostani also had a thing where it can return all the things that you own back to you, also creatures. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the newer one that makes the tokens at the end of each. Yeah.
So
if you have a way to get artifacts back, I guess we got to brainstorm it.
Sudden substitution or something, maybe. I don't know.
You can't do
that. That's a creature too.
Oh gosh. Well, we certainly are going to be looking for more combos here. And if you're excited to play with any of these, tell us about it. Tweet at us or send us an email or come join our Discord. And that's it for this week. You can find me on Twitter at ATFlory if you want to chat with me.
And you can find me on Twitter at WormCoilEngine if you want to see me post very occasionally.
Very occasionally. But I post very often, daily.
Yes. But also we want to give a very special thanks to our producer, Ryan Nichols. Thank you so much. And Chris Wolf, who handles all of our graphic design. Thank you so much. And to all of you listeners, we'll talk to y'all next week.
Good night.
I say good luck adventuring into the dungeon. Hope you level up. Get to level 11.
The trolls. Good luck at pre-release.
Oh yeah, good luck at pre-release.
I hope you win all the cards.
Force dice rolling, because it's so much fun. Pixie Guide's a common, by the way.
I think also the card, the die that comes in the pre-release kit is an actual.
It's an actual D20.
It's actual D20.
Which
it's not a spin down.
That was one of my intro ideas. Was going to say, oh, having a natural D20 rather than a spin down is going to make it easier for me to go straight from 20 to 4 like I normally do.
But now you can say it was an outro. Bye, everyone.
Bye.